Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, today we have another information-packed episode of the Valley of Spirits, the podcast where we read hotfixes and bitch about them. I'm one of your hosts, Jordan, joined by, oh goodness, what was it? Prick, that's right.
Yes. Thank you, Jordan. Always a pleasure to be introduced with such class. Just for clarity, folks, it's Nick, not Prick, though I understand the confusion, given that Jordan here can't remember where he last logged out, or where he left his sense of humor. Buckle up, everyone. We're diving into the latest hotfixes. Up first, though, let's see how our weeks in Azeroth went. Well, Jordan, what did you get up to this past week?
Well, thank you, Nick. I did a lot this week, so I'm going to start with what I did in Panda. I did some leveling, and last when he talked at the recording, I got to somewhere around level 50, I said, and so I ended up getting to 62 right after, the day after we recorded last week, which only took me a couple hours to finish up and get to 70. So that very day when I got to 70, I did all the LFRs in Pandaria. I played all the LFRs in one day. I'm waiting on a couple people in the guild to really get into it to do some more normal heroic raiding, but I did do all of the heroic dungeons. But we'll get more into the detail about some of the things I noticed with that later. With retail, I put Panda a little bit on the back burner in the beginning of this week. I'm trying my hardest to get that Evoker Legendary to no avail yet. Thank you, Blizzard. Especially because it is the last exclusive week for Aberrus being awakened. And so it's just kind of a huge opportunity to have a lot of people doing Aberrus. Hopefully I can still get it in the following weeks. I, of course, did all my LFRs. I did my LFR run on my Warrior, my Mage, and my Evoker. I did complete a normal run. And a guildie was actually able to come along for most of it until he had to go. That was on my Evoker. And then I'm currently 5 of 9 heroic on my Evoker. So I'm probably just going to try to get a heroic Sarky and hope it drops for the end of the week. I'll have to look up an updated loot ritual. Obviously, giving blood to the gods of Blizzard did not please them enough. I'm going to have to get more drastic in order to make sure this drops.
Sacrifice. Sacrifice.
Yeah, sacrifice. I ended up, so going on to dungeons. I only ended up doing a couple of Mythic 2s with some buddies. I actually ended up helping another guild try and get through some 2s. And that's pretty much it. My characters were pretty focused on doing the raiding this week. So going on to the little bit of a tickle I did in the Cataclysm Classic, I did begin my exceptional leveling experience, and I got all the way to level 11. And then I got summoned from a neighboring guild to help with their normal clear. So I didn't do a whole lot of Cata this week. I am pretty excited to get into it. And then kind of the same story with Hardcore. I didn't really devote a lot of time into it. So that's pretty much all I got up to this week. Pretty good summary. Nick, what did you get to? What did you get up to?
Well, for Panda Remix, I know last time we had talked, I got to about level 30. I did spend a good chunk of this last week pushing that rogue up again. I'm now sitting at 60, so I only got 10 more levels to go. I think right now it's actually 62 or 63. I plan to be jumping right into raiding and dungeons right when I hit 70. For retail, you and I had almost completed Aberrus on Heroic, but we ended up having a raid wipe. I forget the boss it was. And then everybody ended up leaving right after, which really sucked because we had a great group going, and it took one wipe to kill it. After that, I pretty much was able to do a normal Aberrus and a Midrasil during the week. Sadly, I did not get my legendary drop on the Rep Pally, so I will also have to make more sacrifices to the Blizzard gods. My mythics this week, in between doing raiding and Pandaland, I was able to do a couple of them. I only got up to a 2 this week. Nothing fancy or special. I didn't put a lot of time and effort into it, but I still wanted to push myself. Cata Classic, I've started a mage. That's as far as I got. I pretty much started it, went back to Panda. Hardcore, I haven't touched it at all this week, and I think it's going to be a while until you and I get back on that, only because we got to get back into the groove of it, but Panda's been my main focus, as well as making sure I get more gear on the Rep Pally for the War Within. Jordan, do you want to take us into some fun game updates?
Yeah, I'll get us kicked off into some game updates. So we'll talk about when the servers are going to be down for maintenance. It's a pretty tame week for everybody. Dragonflight, Cataclysm, and regular Classic will all be down on the 28th, so this is in Pacific time. It'll be down on May 28th from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. is what they're claiming. So normally it's up 15 minutes early, 15 minutes late, somewhere in there. A good little 1 hour period on Tuesday of maintenance. Pretty exciting. Not a long wait for if you're trying to play on Tuesday, for sure. So I did want to talk a little bit about the Earthen Heritage armor. It'll be coming out with the War Within. They released the pictures that you'll be able to get once we are able to play as the Earthen. I wasn't super impressed. I didn't really like how these looked from the beginning, though. I've never wanted a dwarf, like a stone dwarf. I don't know. Maybe there's people who did. I'm not super excited about it. It's not something I'm going to jump out of my way to make. And to be honest with you, the Heritage armor sets do look kind of cool. The fact that I can only put them on a Earthen is kind of restricts it. I guess I'll see if I bring myself to being motivated to do it, but I don't see myself really going for the Heritage armor on these guys. What do you think, Nick? How do you think about the look?
I mean, it looks good, but I don't know if I will. I mean, we're talking about starting a whole new race. Race, class, all that, and I'm trying to put in as much time as I can right now to the specific characters I have, so probably not. I mean, like I said, it's a full level to 50, I think, is when they pop.
Right.
It's another character to manage. And
yeah,
I'm already doing 2, and then I'm going to do 3 with this rogue that's going to transfer into retail from Panda, and that's why I'm pushing so hard on it, so I have an extra DPS to run. I don't know. Maybe. If I get the spare time for fun.
Right, but this Heritage armor isn't swaying you either way, really, right?
No, it's not.
Didn't
it's
really
not
change my mind.
Right. It's not like I'm going to sit here and be like, oh my god, I have to get it.
Right. So, hotfixes. This is where the people who know how to read. I'm a warrior, so I struggle with this. So Nick's going to take this section. I was wondering if you would start rambling through these hotfixes. There's a whole lot in here.
Yeah, there's a lot this week. Moving into the Panda remix, which we have a couple pages of, so please bear with us. Blizzard has made neck, ring, and trinket unlocks account-wide via hotfix in the remix. When you earn the appropriate achievement on your main, you can buy the amulet, ring, and trinkets at any bazaar from Lita Maradu for 10 bronze on your alts. For our froggers and goat farmers, keep an eye. The farm is forever moving, it seems. Blizzard was quick to nerf the goat farm, but resourceful players have discovered a new farming spot in southernmost part of Karasang Wilds. Players have found Hosen mobs, creating a new farming hotspot. By taking advantage of this area, you can kill approximately 2,000 mobs per hour, yielding about 15,000 bronze. But the mobs in the area are not hyper-spawning, so if another player is there, it can get slow. Massive bronze increases for normal dungeons, normal scenarios, heroic dungeons, heroic scenarios, and daily infinite bazaar quests, as they are now 5 times more in bronze caches as they were before. Per the dev notes, they wanted players to earn a lot more bronze as they leveled. At level 70, caches now award 8,750 bronze. Previously, it was 1,750. Celestial Court bosses on the Timeless Isle should no longer be occasionally despawning. Game working properly again.
Occasionally despawning. No, not good.
Once in a while, not there. Putrid Waste enemies in Throne of Thunder no longer deal extreme amounts of purified damage. Brewmaster Blanche now accuse you for a brewing storm when asked. Game's working again. The Paragon of Mist title is now account-wide. Added clarity to the quest The Great Water Hunt to speak with Mudmug before gathering water. The quest Where Are My Reinforcements now proceeds as expected. Improved the respawn rate and treasure rates from rares and rare elites across Pandaria.
Wow, they changed the whole thing.
What?
They had changed the whole Pandaria.
Yeah, right there.
This is a huge hotfix. Anyway.
Increase the amount of bronze and raise the drop chance for threads of time from airborne bronze. If you don't know what the airborne bronze is, that is the bulbs that look like... What was the green stuff, the catch-up mechanic in...
Dream Surge Coalescence, wasn't it called?
Yep. Yeah, so it looks like the Dream Surge Coalescence all over the Pandaria, except it's gold. I think they literally just reskinned it to be gold.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Well, and it's cool because I catch them all the time.
No, I'm good with it. I like it.
Yeah, it's a nice little thing to, when you're flying around, just get a little extra bronze.
It makes you feel cool. You fly through... Yeah, it makes you feel really cool. You fly through, like, the buildings and the archways, and it's cool. It's definitely a good ad. Anyway.
I think it was a great ad. Continuing. The appropriate Cloud Serpent mount now drops in the quest Riding the Sky.
Yeah, you'd get different ones. The ones you weren't... Yeah, crazy. Anyway.
Right. Hoodia was out of control in the Jade Forest and was convinced to not hit so hard. Notswan now sells Glyphs of Shadow for priests.
Yeah, boss. I like that Hoodia was out of control. It's like they didn't change the code or anything. Just had to whisper and ask him to calm down. Hoodia,
Yeah.
yo, bro, chill,
Chill.
chill.
Blizzard has adjusted the Cloak of Infinite Potential. The goal with these adjustments is to provide players access to more threads of time from daily repeatable sources and serve as a readily attainable power from the pool of content. There are 4 new items that grant players escalating amounts of power for the cloak. They are the Minor Spool of Eternal Thread, Lesser Spool of Eternal Thread, Spool of Eternal Thread, and Greater Spool of Eternal Thread.
And so something we didn't touch in this, or
Yeah,
we
go
didn't
ahead.
actually write down the numbers for, we wanted to, the reason why I avoided putting the specific numbers that they upgraded all these types of threads by, because they keep changing it. We've changed how many of these threads dropped like 3 or 4 times in the last week. I would expect them to keep making these threads better and better and drop better and better stats, I imagine.
I think by the time that we're getting close to the closing of this remix, it's going to be very well done.
Yeah, they're gonna have a good. They'll have a good feel for what their remix target
just
will
look
be.
at how many adjustments have already happened for the bronze drops, and with the caches alone.
Yeah, and this is their first
2
attempt
weeks.
their first attempt at like a season of Discovery retail. So
Yeah, so I think it's going well.
it's going. Yeah,
Players can find these new items from a variety of solo and group sources: infinite bizarre repeatable dailies, first-time daily scenarios, dungeons, and each LFRQ. World bosses, remix achievements. Each of these achievements are available for additional characters to complete as well for a bronze bonus, and new additional spools.
yeah. Noted here. Something to notice that with these remix achievements, when you do it on your first character, you'll notice you'll get the achievement score on your account if you didn't already. You will notice that you will complete the Pandaria achievement, the original one from the game, and get the achievement score. But then you'll also get another achievement, the remix one. So that remix one you can do on multiple characters. The original one, obviously, you only get once, right?
Yeah.
All right, moving forward. Excuse me.
Move forward. No, you're good. I appreciate the input. The last place you can find these new items is a Trove of Thunder Kings scenario on the Island of Thunder. The following changes and bug fixes are intended to address concerns about balance, which I know we talked about last week.
Here we go.
The health of creatures in the heroic scenarios have been decreased by 20 to 25%. This decrease will be based on the player levels. The higher the level, the larger the decrease will be. The health and damage of creatures on the Timeless Isle, Isle of Giants, and the Isle of Thunder has been reduced. Several spell gems were not scaling up or down correctly based on the player level. They have been adjusted and provide more of an appropriate scaling effect. Spell gems with shielding effects should no longer cause threat,
Yeah.
which, makes sense.
It understands why it does, because when a healer power word shields you, they should take threat, but not for trinkets.
Right. The bug where Righteous Frenzy was not canceling after combat has been fixed. Time Runner's Vile Mana regen has been significantly increased. Moving on, so those are the hotfixes that are specifically to address the concerns of balance. Reputation granted from Granite Quillen has been adjusted to be more in line with what players expect. Guaulai Hall's trap tiles will no longer be flickering. So now you have to find them. Jordan, what are your thoughts so far on all these Panda fixes?
So I'll start off with the bad, which we covered that the health of creatures in heroic scenarios have been decreased by 20 to 25%.
Yep.
And this helps the people that maybe didn't frog farm with their cloaks. It is pretty obvious when you have been put into a pug group with froggers or obscenely low levels. There was one heroic dungeon I got into where I did not even get the opportunity to touch the mobs. The tank in the range essentially killed them before I could even walk to them. I guess it was easy, but I definitely wasn't super engaged in it. Like, I do expect a little bit more from my dungeon than just walking. Like, I could go play No Man's Sky Release if I want.
Yeah.
But there were several other dungeons runs that I did that were people not necessarily properly using all the gem slots and not froggers. And so I, not a frogger, was doing the most damage, which I did enjoy walking these groups through the mechanics. However, it's just rather jarring or inconsistent in between experiences. I mean, I'm still in love with the building and the itemizations and things like that, but the frog farmers and stuff are out of control. They are talking about retroactively removing what you got from these frogs and these goat farms and things
'cause
like
people
that.
are just from the farming alone.
Yeah, and just from specifically those mobs taking points away. And I don't know exactly how I feel about that. Because I guess maybe we'll get more into it in the tavern talk, but
Yeah, let's save it for tavern talk.
But I guess my experience with it is it's very inconsistent, group to group. And you're not really experiencing the dungeons like I hoped when you get into a group with a bunch of froggers with super crazy capes that just one-shot everything. Like, I don't know if that's what I wanted. What I said in the chat, in the dungeon, was I was like, wow, experience Pandaria from a whole new perspective. Not hitting anything.
Let me walk through it.
Right.
It's
So
like doing a It's like doing a time walking on a level 70, even though you get downgraded.
Right.
Even though there's a healer, you're kind of useless.
Well, and a guy walks in at level 15 to Heroic Dungeon and does 1.2 million damage per second. It's like, come on. Ugh. So they're doing some stuff to help this. Like, they did decrease the health of Heroics and Arrows from 20 to 25, and they said they lower it more as you get to a higher level, which I think is a good change. It helps with the scaling, right? The small level players are out of control. And so that was just kind of my feel. The good part of it is the itemization is crazy. The amount of stuns you can stack, all the stuff that blows up when you kill them. It's like, I have bursting now. How does it feel? So it's pretty exciting. I'm pretty excited with it. Yeah, and so we'll have to get into some normal and heroic raids and see how those feel for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely we will.
So we do have a little bit more. I think we still have Cataclysm Classic hotfixes to go through.
Yep, we still got to hit Cataclysm, which is also a lot.
Yeah, set us off. Not too bad. It's not too bad.
No, it's actually quite short. My line.
But Nick, drum roll.
So for Cataclysm Classic hotfixes, an error was found where boosted characters were not properly learning their classes and spec armor proficiently. The game now works again. The classic dungeon man.
No, I like to think about that. You're a hunter, right? And you boost your character and you can't put on mail in certain slots. It's like, what?
What's going on here? The classic Dungeon Master achievement now properly tracks their requirements for completion. So that way we can all get those points.
You get credit for what you do. All right.
Death Knights are receiving a discount on the armor cost for their brutal gladiator gear. The price will now match other classes.
Yeah, no more FU Death Knights. Okay.
Right. The quest Never Again can now be completed. The bug preventing the diabolical plans from being dropped has been fixed. Think about doing that like how many times, and which is, I don't know the drop rate for it, but like retail is pretty much almost 100% for some of these. Just never dropping.
Well, and the quest lives up to its name. Never again will I do that quest, right?
Honor vendors should now be available in the major cities to purchase eye-level 352 blue PvP gear for honor points. Conquest and Elite Conquest vendors will not sell anything until Season 9 begins in Cataclysm Classic, which we'll talk about later. Engineers and alchemists can now make discoveries while crafting. The bug preventing this has been squashed.
Well, the terminology in these is adorable. I love it.
Oh, no, this is my writing. This is
the terminology in your notes is adorable.
Thank you. I thought it was
anyway,
fun
brother
to
Nick.
mix it up. Crafting vicious gear was unintentionally created at item level 377 instead of its intended 399. This has been fixed, sadly, so no more free eye level.
Oh, that's crazy. 377 in Canada.
That increase is ridiculous. The phasing issue from the Wrathgate and Battle for Undercity quests has been fixed. Players should now be in the right phases in Orgrimmar and Undercity. That would suck, because we've even had issues of being phased improperly in the game, but that was more because you leave war mode on all the time.
No.
Yeah.
Well, I quest. I need to make sure there are no Alliance players doing any quests in my zone.
Gotta make sure they're gone. All right, Jordan, let's talk about this coming week. What holidays, events, and what's going on in Azeroth overall?
So the events and excitement this week. There are no holidays this week. Just wanted to let you know the Arena Skirmish event has ended. Hopefully you got your 10 wins. If you didn't, sorry I brought it up. So moving forward, next week is the World Quest event bonus week. So you get 50% increased rep from World Quests. This includes Legion and BFA World Quests. So it's important to, if you need to catch up on Lone Niffin, if you didn't finish up the Emerald Dream, or you need to go back and do some Legion for some cool transmogs. This is the week to do it. You get 50% increase on all World Quests. So the PvP Brawl will be the Comp Stomp. This is essentially where you walk in and do a Battleground in Arathi Basin against AI. It's pretty chill. It's a pretty easy way to earn honor. Honestly, easy week. If you just want to chunk out some honor and some conquest, it's pretty good to go CC some AI healers and have a good time. I advise you to try it, especially with your friends that are learning player versus player. This is an absolutely excellent mode to bring up your friends that are learning it and get them some honor gear so they don't get dumpstered in your battlegrounds. Dark Moon Fair will be beginning on June 2nd and ends on June 8th. We're warning you a little bit early, and in fact, I believe that's during the next week, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
But remember, Dark Moon Fair is hype, lots of cool drops, and so June 2nd through June 8th. So we did mention the Cataclysm PvP season. So the Season 9 goes live on May 28th. And so I'll quote Blizzard here. Engage in an all-new PvP season, beginning with weekly resets. Gather your team to take on the challenge of raided arenas and raided battlegrounds and earn conquest points to spend on new and more powerful PvP gear. Season 9 also brings with it 2 new battlegrounds, the Battle for Gilneas and Twin Peaks, and sets the stage for a dynamic PvP experience. So I'm interested that they call this a dynamic experience because a lot of people wanted to go back to what Cataclysm Classic was. And if they're referring to the dynamic PvP experience that they released in Cataclysm, then okay. But I feel like they need to stay true to the Classic. So I have a lot of opportunities here. I guess if they make changes, like I said, I'm on the fence about it. This is something that will be pulling me towards Cata Classic for sure. They did a couple of really crazy things with the PvP power and the PvP resistance and all sorts of things with PvP gearing. I'm interested to see what they do with it now. They mentioned this dynamic experience, which almost gives me an interpretation that they're going to tweak with it a little bit.
It'll be interesting.
It'll be interesting. I guess we'll see what it comes out with and how people feel about it, because you have to find the balance between we wanted a classic Cataclysm experience and a quality of life, or a refinement of the experience. So I'm interested to see where they draw the line with that. The first 3 raids of Cataclysm will be coming out on May 30th at 3 p.m. Pacific. Level 85 players will be able to take their first steps into 3 raids: the Bastion of Twilight, Blackwing Descent, and the Throne of Four Winds. This is pretty exciting. These are the better raids in the expansion. I'm not looking forward to Dragon Soul, as that's coming. There's Spine of Deathwing. There's all kinds of terrible fights in that. I'll be honest with you. I'm gonna jip out when Dragon Soul comes out, but the rest of them could be pretty cool. A little bit more about Cataclysm PvP. You guys know I'm a bit into the esports scene for World of Warcraft, so I wanted to talk a little bit about, even though it's a little early, about a week early, I wanted to talk a little bit about what their plans are for the Cataclysm Classic competitive. So we'll start with what they call this Dragon Slayer Challenge, which will be on June 8th and June 9th. The Dragon Slayer Challenge gives these 2 guilds basic level 85 characters, limited time to gear up, and forces them to speed run through Blackwing Descent. So my understanding of what this statement is that they will be giving people essentially base level 85 characters, and you will have a certain amount of time to gear the character up and then run it through the raid. That's my understanding. Could change and we'll talk about it next week, I'm sure, as more of the details surface. But this is an interesting concept, because you almost got to play the game of, do you want to gear your character up and make sure you down the raid faster, or do you pull the trigger early and make sure you down the raid even though you don't have the right gear or pieces to do it? So I think it's kind of interesting. I want to see where this ends up. They're utilizing the Cataclysm Classic release to experiment with a mode like this, and so we'll see how it goes. I'm going to watch it. And we'll see what crazy strategies they can come up with to get through Blackwing Descent as fast as possible. A little bit more of a traditional approach they're doing is they will be doing a Cataclysm Arena tournament from June 14th to June 16th. So this is important. If you want to be involved in this kind of thing, you can sign up you want to definitely search for the Cataclysm Arena Tournament. And you'll be able to sign up on Blizzard's website if you want to compete. Nick and I won't be. We're not that good. But if anybody listening is that good, definitely take a look and sign up. Get your groups together now. I believe it's 9th is the end of the sign-up, June 9th. So make sure you're prepared. Prepare for the ultimate showdown in the 2024 Cataclysm Arena Tournament. This is your chance to witness the top players from Europe and North America battle for glory in a combined prize pool of $50,000. It's pretty straightforward. They're going to do a gauntlet. They will have a round robin to decide who gets into the gauntlet. The bottom 4 teams will compete to see who competes against the winner's bracket. Pretty exciting. I'm not exactly sure how they're going to decide who the pro teams are. I'm sure there's going to be an Echo, a Liquid, right? So we'll see how they go from that as the news comes out. Pretty excited to watch that. Definitely tune in from the June 14th to 16th. So we're going to touch on lore a little bit. There was a recent short story release that Christy Golden wrote. The story is called The Calling. Since leaving the realms of death, Anduin Wrynn has only sought to keep his hands busy. Plagued by the night terrors and grisly flashbacks, the young king finally finds the isolation he seeks in Stormsong Valley, milling flour for a local village. But while Anduin may be able to hide his identity, he cannot escape who he is or the stuff he is made from. So covering a little bit about the time in between when you see in the cutscene when there are the voices and Anduin's in the desert. We get a little bit of context of what happened in between when he was released from the Maw and when he shows up and hears the voices of the War Within cutscene. That's a little bit about what they're covering here. So it was written by Christy Golden, and so we are at the end of this episode. We plan to talk a little bit about it. It's kind of a sad topic, and we are going to read her post on Twitter. Yes. So definitely stay tuned if you're interested in listening to that, as we do want to pour one out for our homie Christy, and we'll put it to rest after that. So getting into affixes. So the 3 affixes this week are Fortified, Storming, and Bursting. Now, I hear you guys groaning already. Bursting's our favorite, but we'll start with Fortified. Non-boss enemies have 20% more health and inflict up to 30% increased damage. Trash week. Remember, trash is the hard part now. This one's pretty straightforward. You'll have to make sure you're careful with your pacing this week. I'm talking to you, tanks. This is a double-edged sword with the final affix. With trash having more health, your group has more time to miss interrupts and hard CCs and etc., which means the bursting could come at a bad time, but also helps because since the trash lasts longer, it can spread out the bursting some. So the healer can, get a dispel out or something. Storming. While in combat, enemies periodically summon a damaging whirlwind. The initial starting location will be indicated by a gray swirly on the floor. It will then revolve around in a spiral for about 10 seconds before disappearing. Getting hit by a tornado will cause you to take damage and be knocked back a small distance. Multiple tornadoes can be active at the same time. Storming is more annoying than deadly. This is mostly to remember to watch your feet, and they will move to this trend to bug ranged more than melee, but melee will definitely experience some of it. Bursting. During bursting, it's important to stagger the deaths of enemy forces so that the debuff doesn't stack up too high. Be careful not to use too many AoE Paladin abilities and kill the monsters too soon. Immunity abilities such as Cloak of Shadows and Ice Block will remove all current stacks and prevent future stacks from applying. I'm saying you pallies out there, you blow all these up at once, we dying.
Well, it's not just us that has AoE.
Yeah, I know.
We're the best with it.
Yeah. Have fun in bursting week. Anyway, Nick, a couple of PvE updates we have to cover, right? This isn't Cataclysm again?
Yep, yeah, so the PvE updates are going to be focused on just Cataclysm Classic. And there's only 3 classes we have to go over. Very short, sweet. Hunter, arming times for traps has been adjusted to be faster and more consistent. Shaman, Shaman Greater Fire Elemental was dealing too much damage with its Fire Nova spell. Sadly, it's been adjusted to be more in line with the expected damage output.
Of course, when I start playing a Shaman. Anyway, well, not
exactly.
Classic. Not Cataclysm Classic. Whatever, I don't care.
The Warrior, Jordan. An issue arose that prevented Slam from not being logged into the combat log properly. Now it's realized.
Oh, I know. I'm like a hard logger, too. I actually kind of like that. I like when they fix log stuff.
I like the fact they pay attention to that, too. I mean, they should. But it's nice that they saw it, fixed it. But that wraps it up for the PvE updates.
All right. So, it is time for the Tavern Talk.
I can't wait till we get sound effects.
Yeah, we will. We'll get a couple. We'll get a Tavern Talk one, too.
Yeah, we have to.
It'll be like...
Well, we don't know what it's going to be like. We're still waiting for the first rendition of everything we asked for.
Boom, boom. So I did say we were going to talk about Sister Christy. So Nick, let's cheers to Christy.
Yep.
Right. That was for you, Christy. So we're going to go over this tweet. She posted this on April 29th, 2024. And I'm going to read it verbatim. She is at Christy Golden on X, Twitter, whatever. An update. As some of you know, on January 26th, my nephew died after a long battle with cancer. Less than 24 hours earlier, I had been laid off from Blizzard's story and franchise development team, where I worked on cinematics, song lyrics, short stories, and etc. for all of Blizzard's games. With 2 life-changing events to deal with at once, I knew I wasn't ready to speak about anything in a public space, and so I stepped away to do some thinking and some soul-searching. The shock was followed by an outpouring of kindness, love, and support from my fellow employees. My relationship with Blizzard is almost 25 years old. In that time, I learned to play video games. I know, right? Traveled the world, created and fleshed out characters that millions love, became a New York Times bestselling author, kept food on the table, gained new skills, crafts, and an entire second career, won awards, and met some of the finest humans on the planet. I will miss many things. Breaking story with SFD folks, writing cinematics and song lyrics, working on different teams and people. One thing I had never experienced previously but grew to love passionately was recording our incredible voice actors. I'm grateful for these experiences. And while I'd enjoy working with Blizzard again, in one form or another, until then, many other doors are opening, and I'd never been in a better position to explore them. A few projects have found me already. Other opportunities will come along as they're meant to, perhaps including game consulting or full-time employment for the right triple P combo. Place, people, and projects. Or something utterly new. I'm open to what unfolds. I'll close with a line I wrote years ago for our Overwatch character Sojourn. Forgive me, I don't play Overwatch. As it's proved to be prescient and sums up my feelings quite well. Even the best journeys end, but a new one is just around the corner, and you never know what road is going to take you. I plan to enjoy the journey. Christy Golden. So that's the official tweet. We miss you already, Christy, if you're listening. You are definitely welcome to write more of our stuff, and hopefully Blizzard wakes up soon. But I wish you the best of luck out there.
Yes.
So moving forward, Nick, is there anything you wanted to cover in this Tavern Talk? Anything we didn't quite cover on?
We do have socials now.
We do have socials now.
We set that up this week.
We have a Facebook page now, and we have
a Twitter.
A Twitter as well. The details will be in the description.
Yep.
And we will go from there. It's pretty exciting. We plan to... The Twitter is actually where... Or the X, whatever you want to call it, is I think we're going to be doing most of our stuff. We'll be forwarding links from Icy Veins that we think are interesting. Stuff like that. Maybe some screenshots of cool stuff we got done, like all the little stuff that we don't really cover in our podcast. We are probably gonna blow up on the Twitter. Perfect place for that. Nick actually did a majority of setting that up, so thank you, Nick.
You're welcome. Figured it was time.
Yeah, he definitely pushed for it, and he's right. He's right. More exposure will be good for us, I think.
Yep.
So something I wanted to talk about. I guess I'll take your opinion on this. Do you think there is too many flavors of WoW? Do you think it is separating the community so much to where you've experienced some of it ourselves, right? Like there's people playing Cataclysm Classic that used to play retail with us or Mop Remix, right? So how do you feel about having so many flavors and so many options? Like when is it too much?
I think right now we're at a pretty healthy mix. I don't know if I'd want much more. I like the fact that we have classic hard, because, well, let's break it down. What do we got? We got classic hardcore, remix, which is only a time lock thing, so it's going to go away. And then we have Cata Classic and retail. So 5 total, right?
Yeah, I like to break down to the classic, like Season of Discovery, hardcore, and self-found into one, generally.
Okay,
But,
so then you could do what? 4? 3?
right. Yep, because you have Vanilla Classic, Cata Classic, Retail, Mop
Yep.
right now.
So then 3 overall, not bad. If you get in the nitty gritty, you get to 5, 6, but I think it's a good healthy mix. It offers a player various avenues to go down, like we had talked about I think 2 weeks ago now or last week, where I had said that I really enjoyed playing Classic because it's such a challenge. Granted, I don't want to be playing that in that state all the time to where I have to think about, well, I have to walk around this way because I want to get around this mob to go get all the other crap or whatnot, or have to just grind away at a quest. I don't want to have to be playing like that all the time. I would rather be playing retail most of the time. But it offers a break from retail of the standard way I play to change it up, if that makes sense. So I enjoy it. I think it's great.
No,
What about
I've
you?
been totally. I do think there's a little separation. I mean, you got to keep people engaged with the content. You got to keep people loving their sub, keeping them subbed. And if there was only retail, we would have a lot less subs, and I firmly believe that. We wouldn't have all the classic subs, wouldn't have all these mop subs. People would be canceling their subs right now because Season 4 isn't enough. They're very strategic in how they're releasing all this stuff. As they had the Plunder Storm for the 10.2.7 patch, and then as soon as they rip it out, boom, they slam us with mop. Because if you're sick of all the raids from Dragonflight and you don't want to do it, don't worry about it. Go back to Cataclysm and kill Neltharius, go do the raids from Cataclysm that are coming out on May 9th. May 9th. Oh, man, we're going to have to cut so fucking much out of this. God, this is a mess. This is going to be the hard part to edit right here. Or we just leave it in, right?
Can't now.
No, we can talk about editing and leave it in. I do like what Blizzard is trying to accomplish here with World of Warcraft. They're kind of trying to make like a World of Warcraft universe where there's multiple flavors. You can
think about it.
Yeah, you can do Panda this week, or you can do Cataclysm next week, or you can grind out your legendaries and not get them in retail this week. You can do so there's so much to do. I do think they need more modes almost to the line of like Plunderstorm. I want them to keep trying these interesting and different game modes. Because, to be honest with you, my 2 favorite games, everybody knows this that I talk to, my 2 favorite games in the world are Fortnite and World of Warcraft. And they made a mode that was right in the middle of both of them. And I loved it. And so why don't we make something like, I don't know, a zombie defense, like Call of Duty Zombies. You can actually, they own that. So they could do all kinds of crazy shit
Yeah,
with
but how
that.
would you do that?
Just make it a dungeon where you get waves of ads and they keep getting stronger and bigger until you can't down them anymore. And then you have to unlock other rooms of the place, other rooms of the dungeon
Wouldn't
once
that
you get
just
to a
be the
certain
mage
level.
tower they did?
No, Mage Tower is just straight up you against enemy tough. I'm talking
Okay.
like you have a bunch of small enemies, you get a little bit of gold for killing them all, right?
Yeah.
And then once you get enough gold, you can open the door to get a gear piece that increases your stat on whatever class you decided to play. And then, wouldn't that be wild?
I mean, it'd be different.
Right, and so there's all kinds of crazy things they could do like that. Mop definitely is a better representation of how the game is actually played, more or less. You do utilize a Dragonflight talent tree to play in Mop Remix. You go through dungeons and raids that have been released in Mop, so it doesn't feel like a really twisted or severely different experience compared to like Plunderstorm. I'm not saying PvP is the only option here, because what I talked about was a co-op experience. You and I could come together and kill all these mobs in this zombie thing, So this could really appeal to player versus environment players. And so I think they could do all kinds of really, really weird things now that they have the client built this way. So I don't think Mop Remix, I'm not disappointed with it, mind you. I'm going to, probably after we log off, I'm going to get back on and do some more heroic dungeons, or if I can sweet talk Nick into doing some heroic dungeons with me, maybe.
Oh, I'm sure we can.
And I'm going to hop into it. It didn't feel quite as different, I guess, as I expected. It didn't completely change the way I utilize the mechanics of the game, for example. So, Nick, you started in Cataclysm, right?
No, I started in Lich King.
So what do you remember the most about you left during Cataclysm, right? You said it was, or was it Panda you left?
I
You said.
stopped playing at the tail end of Cata's start of Panda, mainly because the people I was playing with kind of stopped playing as well, so my guild died out, and I just didn't like you and I weren't playing as we are now,
No.
have been at that time, but like because I was on Azeroth server and you were still on Mal'Ganis, and I didn't swap to Mal'Ganis till I don't remember when, and then we started playing so heavily. No, like what do you mean? What do I remember about like why I left or?
No, I was going to ask you what from your nostalgia do you like the most and like the least about Cataclysm, from what you played in it.
Yeah, I enjoyed the glyphs. I'll be honest, when they were useful, and then they turned into just
You
flavor,
liked?
basically. Yeah, I think it added the character or added to it.
Okay, all
It
right.
changed up a little bit because at that point you started to get locked into the talent tree. You didn't have the ability like where you could kind of screw with it a bit and dip into one or two of the other ones. Um, that's all I really remember about it. The thing I don't want to repeat again out of Cataclysm is my guild dying. That was not fun. That's kind of why I
True.
stopped playing.
No, we'll see.
I'd
We'll
like it
try to
still-
make sure that doesn't happen. Yeah.
No, other than that, I mean,
No, for those listening, feel free. The Electric Boogaloo on Mal'Ganis. We are
Yes.
recruiting.
always
Recruiting
never
everybody.
stops.
Questers, PvPers, raiders, anybody.
And we'll
Welcome
play all the styles of World of Warcraft too. We're not just gonna stick to retail.
We do. I mean, yeah, listen to us now. We got a little bit more classic work to do, but our
Oh, yeah.
retail and Panda is.
Yeah, it's pretty good. The other thing I would not like to ever do again is back when I played Cataclysm, it was like the first time I started playing WoW because I started in Lich King, but I played Alliance like a dirty noob, and I never want to go back.
Dirty noob, yeah. Crazy. They be meeting us with those freaking human racials in PvP. Look out.
Yeah,
Still trash, though. I agree. Trash out of
Yes.
10.
trash out of 10. Never play Alliance. Only go Horde.
All right. I think that's all I wanted to really touch on in the tavern talk.
I got nothing else.
Yeah, so you want to send us off, Nick?
Can do. This has been another episode of the Valley of Spirits with your hosts and favorite Horde players, Jordan and Nick. You can find us in Veldrak and on the Mal'Ganis server. You can find our guild by searching for the Electric Boogaloo. You can also find us on Facebook, X, or Twitter, whatever the kids are calling it these days, by searching for the Valley of Spirits podcast. And as always, for the Horde.
Torlord! Oh, shit.